Hello, everyone. What's up, Buttercups? It is Thursday, April 16th. We have been in quarantine for roughly a month, give or take a few days that probably feel like years, depending on where in the world you are. How are you holding up, guys? Toss a GIF in the comments. Say hi. How are you doing? Express yourself. We're glad you're with us today. I'm Jenny. I'm the Director of Marketing for Mediavine, and I'm here with Mediavine co-founder and CEO Eric Hochberger. Hi, Eric.
Hey, Jenny.
What's happening in your world?
I'm just going a little crazy from quarantining like everyone else. So, yeah.
My big excitement today was I have a sourdough starter now. So that's the biggest thing that's happened to me today. That's pathetic and my life. Hey, everyone. So we've been doing this a little more frequently lately. We've been getting together and going live to talk with everyone about the state of programmatic advertising and our industry, what we're working on here at Mediavine, Tiger King, anything we can do to help ease minds and hearts and remind us that we are all in this together. If you've got questions for Eric or I, anything you want to talk about that's on your mind today, impacting content creators, plugins, any of those things, post in the comments and we'll take them on. We do have some pretty exciting things to talk about today, believe it or not, but we are going to start by addressing where we are right now, which is somewhat depressing. We're going to rip off that Band-Aid. Here we go. We know things aren't all that awesome with the economy, and digital advertising is taking a hit along with everything else in the world right now. Could you summarize that IAB report? Tell us what the IAB is, the blog post that we wrote about it, and what it means for Mediavine publishers real quick. We're going to share a link to that as well.
Yeah, before we do that, real quick, can you hear me? Am I sounding robotic by chance?
You sound normal to me.
Okay. You're sounding slightly robotic to me, and I've had nothing but internet issues. So I just wanted to confirm before I go into a whole long thing.
It's like a filter. I'm trying to, it's a choice. I want to sound like a robot.
Okay, perfect. You have robot filter on.
Yes.
Turn mine on, please. Okay. So I think the IAB blog post we had is going to do a much better job of explaining this, but this is basically the findings from what the IAB found from the buy side, and that's the actual buyers of the advertisements. That spend was down, I think it was 39%. I'm trying to remember the exact number from the point is that's what we're basically seeing. We're seeing kind of what the buyers are doing overall on the internet is kind of impacting Mediavine around the same rate. About spend is down about 39%, and less spend in the auctions mean lower eCPMs, which mean ultimately lower RPMs, which I know a lot of our publishers are tracking. Things so far we have seen is April is not looking like it's still on that downward descent. It's looking like things are starting to, I think, finally level off and hopefully start to even go back up at this point. So hopefully we're through the worst of it, but I never want to say that. So.
Okay. So I just looked it up. Well, first, what is IAB?
Great question. That is the self-regulating body for internet advertising. So basically it is made up of various exchanges, ad technology people, publishers, buyers, all sides of the ad ecosystem are members of the IAB, and the IAB is basically an independent self-regulating body for all of us when it comes to ads. They're the ones who created all the specifications for how we do things like ads.txt or OpenRTB. They're the reason we have internet ads. And the IAB is the one who basically polled, I think it was 100 buyers, and when they found out what's happening with all of their digital ad spend.
Awesome. Okay. And they, what I just checked, make sure it's 33% in digital advertising, 39% with traditional media.
Oh, it's good to be in the digital side. So that's 33%. Yeah, much better. So that's about what we're seeing here. Some people have seen more. I mean, it really is going to depend on the advertisers that we're buying on your site. Obviously, some advertisers were hit harder than other types of advertisers. So if you had travel, you may have lost a lot of your endemic travel blog buyers, and endemic just means people within your theme. So, an airline company is no longer going to be advertising, right? Things like that.
That's an unfortunate word in the pandemic. Endemic,
right.
Not an awesome association. Okay, some people I think are having, I don't think it's our mics, but we're getting some people saying we sound great. Some people are saying we don't. So Ben Heath had the absolute gall to say I sounded robotic, and I already told you then that was a choice. So let's just all
Do I have my filter on? Do I sound robotic then?
I have it's a little switch under my desk, and I'm gonna flick it. And we're going to sound like Pee Wee Herman soon. Okay, so this is bad news, but as you said, it seems like it's leveling off. Are there any other developments happening in the programmatic advertising world that will impact Mediavine publishers at this time?
As the greater whole of the entire industry? I mean,
the greater whole of the industry, you said it's leveling, so
yeah,
to a certain extent.
I think what we're going to see, and I think I addressed this a couple lives ago, is the industry is already going through something called consolidation. And basically it just means companies are buying up other companies, or companies are going under. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that, unfortunately, over the coming months. We're already going to be seeing it this year just by nature of kind of what's been happening in the industry, is that less relevant partners have less of a niche to kind of carve out for themselves when things like ads.txt is cutting out resellers. And there's all sorts of things happening overall in the industry that are leading to this. But now when you have a recession, or whatever this is, that whatever we're calling this, happening, it's going to only accelerate those things. So we will see more companies going under. And as always, Mediavine is here to help kind of shield our publishers from that happening.
Speaking of Mediavine and our position in all of this, there's no shortage of bad news in terms of economics, and we're hearing it from big companies to small companies, bankruptcy, lots of layoffs. Honestly, how is the company currently faring in terms of our own workforce and our ability to handle the demands of our 6,500 plus websites?
All right, don't worry, Jenny, your job is safe.
I thought he was going to fire me live because of the robot voice thing, because I didn't.
But you didn't give me the filter. That's why.
That's why I got. That's the reason I got canned, y'all.
Yeah, so I don't know if everyone knows this, but Mediavine was actually started in 2004 as like a bootstrap company. We've never had outside investment, which means for the last however many years it's been, 16 years, we've had to be profitable every single year. That's just the requirement of running a business. When you don't have more money, you can kind of hit up your investors for. So the fact that Mediavine has always been profitable means we also run as a lean operation. You may see that we now have almost 77 employees here, I think is the number.
Yep.
And that is relatively lean for the number of publishers and the amount of ad inventory we represent here. There are literally some publishers, single publishers, that have more employees than Mediavine. So we run a relatively lean operation, despite how large it seems at any given moment to us inside here. We make sure that we are sustainable. And as we've always done, our publisher earnings are not mixed with the Mediavine earnings. We've never used publisher earnings for running our business. And that's a lot what happens with the other companies that we're talking about consolidation. They end up spending the money that was supposed to go to the publishers. And then when it comes time to pay, there's no money. So Mediavine has always obviously never had that luxury of either spending our publishers' money, but really the investors' money. So we've never operated under that. So we are doing fine today. We're actually, if anything, still hiring people, not firing people. We've recently hired more support people, more engineers, a decent number. I think like 7 just joined us in the last.
Actually, 81 employees. I just got that.
81.
81.
Okay, there you go. So it's not even the 77 that I had in my head. Nope. It's now 81.
81.
So if anything, we're still growing right now. We still have publishers joining Mediavine, which is amazing. That people during all of this are still able to attain the traffic levels required to join Mediavine and are still interested in blogging as a career. So we're very excited that Mediavine continues to grow, and there's no endangerment for any of our publishers that Mediavine's going anywhere during any of this. We have made sure that we have survived a recession in the past. Mediavine is here to stay.
Yay! We'll stand by on my current personal job security, but everything else is good, guys. Melissa Greeley, Olivieri said, I cannot express how much I love Mediavine. You guys are doing an amazing job of keeping us all up to date. Thank you, Melissa. We love you, and it's the reason why Eric and I A, get to talk to each other, and B, get to put on clothes that are not ratty pajamas. So that's the only reason we're doing it. I'm wearing my fancy sweatpants at this point. So, okay, we have got we've got a pretty big team of engineers. We were talking about that got bigger very recently, dedicated optimizing ad performance, and pretty much their job is squeezing out every dollar that they can for our publishers. With everything that's happened with the huge cutbacks in spending, what have they been doing on the back end to help account for some of that?
Yeah, so you may have already seen basically a series of tweaks that have already come out, many of which you probably don't even notice. Just making sure things like your ads load faster, refreshes happen quicker, ad auctions are faster, all these kind of little things, changing the floors on the back end, tons of little boring stuff that add up to be a couple percentage points each of performance gains. And obviously we can't necessarily make up for the full 33%. I should have the number
33.
memorized. 33, I'm doing a better job. 33% decrease in spend you can't necessarily make up in a week or two, but our goal is to compensate as much as we can with as many tweaks. Our team is working overboard on whatever they can do over time to basically do whatever they can to compensate for a lot of that drop, including some fun new features we'll be able to even announce, I think, during this live. And like a recent one I know that we already announced and you can check out, an example is ads in lists. So if you guys use bulleted or numbered lists inside of your posts, previously we would never break those up or put an ad in them. That's now an option you can turn on. You can now have ads inside your lists and it's not going to be invalid HTML. And so if you want to get that in there, that HTML in there for Google loves that stuff for things like position 0. You can now run lists and have ads. It's just an option in your content settings. So it's a small example of the things our engineers have been working on right now.
I heard a rumor about something specific that we turned on earlier that is specifically related to the adhesion unit and could potentially have a really good impact on earnings.
You did hear that because I told you 10 minutes before this.
That is not how this works.
Oh, not how it works.
No.
Surprise, Jenny. I like to surprise you just as you surprised me. I know. So now this is interesting. So when we first launched the adhesion units at the bottom of pages, we did not have a close button on them. We added a close button because some of our publishers wanted it. It was never added there because of ad policy, despite what people might think. It was added because our publishers wanted the ability to have their users close out that adhesion, whether it be for better user experience, whether it's for typing on the keyboard at the bottom, whatever it may be. There's reasons that publishers had asked for that. So we gave them the close button. We recently decided to test what happens if we got rid of the close button. We didn't always used to have one. We don't have to have one. THE has been running now without a close button for several weeks. And
What's THG?
Oh, thank you. I love acronyms. You know this.
I know.
The Hollywood Gossip. So that is a celebrity gossip site that Mediavine owns and operates and has since 2006. 30 million page views. If there was a complaint, we would have heard about it. So we just removed the close button on the Hollywood Gossip as a test. And that has led to an increase of adhesion revenue by about 10% is what we're seeing. So the money you're making from the adhesion unit could go up by even more. Tested on Nicole or whatever you do, her site. Nicole, our VP of support, tested it and saw a 22% increase in adhesion revenue per session. So we decided we're just going to give publishers the choice. We turned it on for everyone, this close button, but now you can disable the close button if you don't want to run it. It's now going to be a publisher choice. We think during times like this, maybe some publishers will rather choose the additional adhesion revenue. So we'd rather it be their choice rather than kind of making a blunt decision for everyone.
Yes. So are people able, they can go right now to their Mediavine dashboard and make that choice?
Yeah, go right now into your dashboard under ad settings. There will now be an adhesion close. It's on by default. Just turn it off, uncheck that and hit save and it will be gone from your site. And more users will be seeing that adhesion, more refreshes. Yep, more money.
Awesome. Okay. Sarah Arswald said, love the fancy sweatpants. Girl, we're all living in these. Amy Hartle said, you guys are the best. Mirko said, I'm removing the close button right now in settings. Michelle Price has a question. What is the expectation of an impact for adding ads within lists?
And that's all going to depend on your site and your content formatting. I've seen many publishers that will run basically a list for the entire almost content of their entire page. That's one of the reasons we invented Lists and Create. And Lists and Create already got ads. So Lists and Create already ad optimized. This is for HTML lists. So that is an OL or a UL tag in HTML, or if you're using the visual editor, when you click on the little bulleted list or the numbered list, that's what it's making in the back end. We previously would never break those up with ads. Now we will. So if you had a post that was having those, you might see that your health checks start going teal or green. And if those are really popular post. So it can have a pretty big impact on an individual to site, depending on, or especially a post, depending on how you format it.
And where that post is hitting in your traffic, if it's a really popular post that uses a big list. Yeah. Okay, great question from Luke Ward. I know you make small tweaks often, but have you made a lot more since the pandemic? If so, could you do this even after the pandemic ends, please? One, pandemic can end anytime. That would be amazing, Eric. But this is actually a great question about how how we work behind the scenes with our ad tech. If you would go into that a little bit, that'd be great.
Yeah, so super cool thing about our ad tech is we built a pretty intense A/B testing framework. So everything that we test out, we're running a percentage of a test and a control to see what impact does this have on things like revenue, on things like impressions, and even on the Hollywood gossip, we're measuring what's the impact on bounce rates, session duration. Everything that we test here is being tested first on our own sites, and then we test it across the network on such a small percentage of traffic, you probably don't even notice it. In fact, I even tested the adhesion closed, removing it on all of your sites without telling you. Tiny percentage of traffic, nobody notices these things. And so we are constantly actually working on those, whether it's before the pandemic, during, or hopefully after. We continue to run kind of these automated tests in the background on a tiny percentage of traffic. We will continue to do them. We have always done them. I think what you're just seeing right now is we are I don't even want to think of the right word for this, or I can't think of the right word for this, but we are getting scrappy when it comes to the stuff we're working on. We'll go with scrappy. And we're just trying really a lot more, throwing more stuff at the wall. And that's kind of always been kind of our way of doing this since we had this fancy A/B testing framework that we built for these years. We will throw a lot, and whatever sticks, we will launch. And if it doesn't stick, we move on. And so we're just testing more things. I mean, normally we have 2 or 3 tests running. I've seen upwards of 8 or 10 right now. So it's like a lot of little tweaks that we're trying out.
I work for this man, and I promise that he is constantly throwing stuff against the wall. There's nothing that we're not trying here. So guys, if it's possible, we're trying it. I promise you we are. But that is not all. We've got tons of people that are saying they've gone in right now and changed everything. Made the change in their dashboard. So that's exciting. We're hoping for the revenue bump. When should they start to see that, Eric? When will they see a shift?
Give it running for a full day. So check in on Saturday if you're enabling it now. So you have a full day of Friday. And I would literally just look on your Friday earnings, see how much adhesion you're making per session. So I just added up the adhesion revenue divided by session, compared to the previous Friday. And that's where I saw that 22% increase in week over week, how much Nicole was making and the Hollywood gossip were making on the adhesion revenue. So math you can do yourself at home and just see the increase in revenue per session.
I mean, you got time for the most part. Where are you going? Nowhere. Just when the next time Netflix asks you, are you still watching, which I think is rude, and they should suspend that. There should be a toggle button, Eric. Fix that. Go to Netflix. Tell them they need a toggle button in my dashboard that I can ask that make them stop asking me, because that's ridiculous.
Literally, I was listening on the radio and what were their suggestion? They should say like get up and take a shower is what Netflix should be telling us to do during those breaks. I was like, rude. No, thank you. I'll choose when I shower.
And also, yes, I'm always watching, so you shouldn't. I mean, come on. It's intrusive and it's unnecessary under these circumstances. So our engineers are not only working on ad optimizations. There's really a whole other side of our business where they're working on our plugins and all sorts of things for our publishers. We actually had an update for our flagship plugin, Create, the other day. That is pretty exciting. We started talking about it this week, and we had some people using it. Will you talk about social footers? Yeah.
So Create just had the launch of 1.6, which included now social footers, or the social CTA, call to action. We love these. These were designed, I think Lindsay at Purr has been using these for a lot of her clients, and that's basically, she came to us, I think is how the story of this goes, added basically into Create. And if that's not true, I'm sorry, Lindsay, that's how I remember it happening, but it's fine. Either way, these are basically from Purr. It's awesome. They look beautiful. At the bottom of a card, someone completes your recipe, your craft, whatever it may be. And there's just, a little call to action, and you can have people do your Instagram, follow you on Instagram, follow you on Pinterest, whatever it may be. You're going to get to choose in the settings and enable that. And it's one of the best spots. I know on food fanatic when I found the best place to get end users to basically subscribe to an email list was to put it inside the card. Remember, that's your most valuable content. That is where your readers are most engaged. So these social CTAs are going to do wonders for increasing your followers and helping you accomplish your goals. So try it out, and they look beautiful, and they're, like everything else in Create, incredibly simple to set up and easy to use.
Yeah, speaking of that, anyone out there using Create, guys, in our audience, if you are, have you already updated and you're experimenting with social footers? Are you out there making lists like mad? Show us your posts. Drop them in the comments. We are always loving to look at those. What else is going on behind the scenes with the dev team? There is something in particular that I would like to announce, I would like you to announce. Will you announce the exciting thing that we can share with everybody now?
I know they want me to say that Trellis. No Trellis.
Oh, that was cruel. That was really cruel.
Cruel, not funny.
Oh.
All right. No, we'll talk about Trellis in a second, though.
We'll talk about Trellis in a second.
So the dashboard, I teased this at the last live about the beta, and a lot of people signed up and tried it. But the beta is actually, I'm just going to say it's open at this point. If we're going to post the URL inside of the comments, it's just basically dashboard-beta.mediavine.com. And if you have access to the dashboard, you have access to the beta. What? So try it out, dashboard-beta.mediavine.com. Someone will post it again in the comments so you don't have to remember how to spell that. And the new dashboard is an awesome labor of love by our engineering teams. So we have a UI team. They're the same team that built Create and why Create looks so beautiful. They built basically the new dashboard, and then we have our the back end team, the Rails team, who built the back end. It gets less glamorous. Kudos for this, even though they did a heck of a job too. But check it out, dashboard beta looks beautiful, but beyond that, it is so much more powerful. Gives you the ability to do comparisons, so you can compare ranges, see how you're doing. As I was saying, this week compared to last week, this month compared to last month, even this year compared to last year. It's going to give you the ability to do what I think everyone's been asking for, page level metrics. So how well individual pages are doing on a revenue, on an RPM, on a viewability standpoint. You get country reports now. How much money are you making in the US versus your traffic in the UK? Just a heck of a lot is coming out with just the launch of 2.0, and even a lot more is going to be coming out in the future. So the big part about 2.0 is handing things off to basically this engineering team that's already built all of this framework or this toolkit from building Create and all of our other plugins. They are now going to be developing so fast. We're really excited. So once 2.0 is officially live, so please try it out, find some bugs, report them to us. Remember, it is a beta, which means it is not fully ready to be released. Test it out, beat it up, find out what's wrong with it, let us know. The sooner we can get this live, the sooner we can start building things like playlists that I know everyone wants that are going to be very beautiful and easy to do through the new dashboard and would have been nearly impossible to the old. So we're really excited about 2.0 coming out and everything that is going to come to 2.0.
Where should people send their comments or their questions or concerns about Dashboard 2.0?
As always, our award-winning support staff loves nothing more than your emails. So publishers@mediavine.com or the little intercom widget in the bottom right-hand corner that's in your dashboard. Clicking that or an email to publishers@mediavine.com, go to the same place. Our support team is divided up into multiple groups. You may not realize this, but when you email in, just say it's Dashboard 2.0 feedback, and they will know exactly where to route it to.
Marco says, looks fantastic, guys. Corey says, love the new dashboard. I've been using it for about 2 weeks. Betsy Eves, gasp, the new dashboard is so pretty. Lynn says, it's so cool. Rachel Girk says, looks so good. Mary Elizabeth says, the dashboard looks awesome. Yay, guys. We're so glad that you're all out there enabling. Tell your friends to go out and do the same thing. We're ready for it. It's having its debut. It's like prom night. It's ready to go, and we want you guys to test it out and see what you like and what else you're looking for. And so the thing that Eric just rudely teased, go ahead and bring it up because when Amber posted, we have a joke around here that we are so excited about Trellis, and we know that you guys are also really excited about Trellis. So when Amber posted in the group that we were going to be going live in the next 30 minutes, people immediately assumed our exciting announcement was Trellis. What can we talk? We can talk some about Trellis, though. We're making steady progress on it, and there are some more exciting features that we can detail here. Eric, talk about Trellis.
Yeah, so the beta is definitely underway. I don't know the exact number of publishers on it, but I see new ones launching on it pretty much every single day. So it is 100% happening. And the feedback has been incredible. We have found basically bugs or feature requests that we need to do. We're working on, compatibility with various plugins, whether it be random SEO plugins that people are running, whatever it is. We're finding things that don't necessarily work. So that's why we're doing everything in a slow and measured way. One cool thing I could talk about that I don't know if we've given a lot of detail for, and Jordan, who's probably listening, is waiting to, correct
cringe.
Or not correct. Yeah,
Cry.
Cringe. All the stuff he has to build. But one of the things that we worked on is Trellis images is a big part of Trellis. And what Trellis images is a replacement for things like Short Pixel. So you may have noticed when you run PageSpeed Insights, it tells you to do something called next generation images, or it tells you basically shrink your images or compress your images. It gives you about 1 million different warnings about your images and how they're slowing down your site and ruining your life. It's because they are. Images are much larger than text, and we all take very pretty, well, I don't, but hopefully our bloggers all take beautiful pictures. They want to upload the best quality looking ones they can. And ultimately that means you're going to have to compress them, shrink them, which is why we've always recommended Short Pixel in the past. Short Pixel is no longer going to be needed if you're running Trellis. Trellis Images is a service that we are running as part of Trellis. And basically we put up a server that will automatically do everything that Short Pixel was doing, which is compressing your images, but it's going to do it using artificial intelligence to do automatic quality adjustments. Oh, Jordan's
there he
nervous.
is.
Yeah, there it is. All right. So, okay, good call, Jordan.
He
so
lurks like you do.
Good. I don't know. Yours were ringing. So Trellis is going to automatically compress those images for you. And it's also going to generate a WebP and a JPEG 2000. Those are the next generation images that PageSpeed Insights is warning you for. And even better than that, Trellis is going to lazy load your images and serve the correct version and correct size to your users. And that's all powered by Trellis Images, which is included with your Trellis purchase or subscription. So we haven't announced anything on like the pricing, but I can promise you when anyone who's in this beta or any Mediavine publisher that uses it will be very pleasantly surprised how much money they will be saving literally just by running Trellis because of all the number of plugins that you can get rid of as a result of it. And plus you'll make a lot more money because higher viewability, higher revenue performance, and more traffic. So people will love it.
It also comes with a cruise to the Bahamas, it sounds like. Probably solves world hunger. You're making some tall promises here, boss. When can we expect the Trellis beta to expand, and do we have any idea about a potential release date?
So one of the things that's been, so we'll talk more about the engineers, but we've always had kind of this weird bottleneck with QA, quality assurance. So we have a team of engineers that actually have to sit down and make sure that we're not going to break your sites. Very good engineers. Doug and his team, you love them, trust me. They're the reason everything goes a lot smoother and a lot more stable now. So we recently hired 2 additional QA engineers, which we think should significantly speed up our ability to kind of launch this. We recently had a support engineer who's now heading up the efforts, Matt, who a few people have gotten to deal with already as they launch their Trellis sites. So we're really putting together this team that's making the Trellis launches go a lot faster and a lot smoother. In addition, we have more engineers working on Trellis than ever before. I promise you we are putting as many resources as we can, but I do not want to release a product to a wide audience until it is ready for it. This ultimately, it's your entire theme. We don't want to make sure that it could take down, not that it would take down your site, but it'd be incompatible with too many things on your site. A theme is relatively stable. I'm not too worried about a theme taking down your site, but there's a lot of other conflicts you could run into. So we want to make sure we're addressing them all as quickly as we can. I promise we have a very large team dedicated to this because we know how important Trellis is and how excited everyone is.
We got a whole slew of questions. Luke Ward, will Trellis Images be a plugin for those of us that won't be using Trellis?
It's a great question. Trellis Images is a separate plugin, but I believe it will only work right now with Trellis. I don't know if our plan is to split that off, but that's a great question.
Okay. Betsy Eve says, holy guacamole, Trellis images for the win. Melissa says, amazing. Michelle Price says, are they going to host and cache images remotely?
No, we will not be hosting your images for you. That is still going to be the responsibility of your hosting company and hopefully your CDN, your content delivery network that your hosting company set up for you. As always, our preferred way of hosting images. If Mediavine were to host your images, that would run into a whole slew of other things that our lawyer would probably tell me that we probably shouldn't be doing. Yeah. So no, unless we start launching our own hosting company, which again, Mediavine is not doing, we would not be hosting your images. That's for them to do.
Tabitha Blue, is there a link for the current Trellis or not out yet at all?
Beta.mediavine.com, I believe mediavine.com/beta. Sign up. That is still where we're pulling all of our beta testers from.
Michelle Palin, sounds like Trellis comes with everything. Can it parent my teenagers too? I mean, it's a feature request, Michelle. Just email in. Lawrence Nora, is Trellis all paid or is there a free tier?
So right now, Trellis, basically the only way we could accomplish things like Trellis images and Trellis, the CSS, the critical CSS, without getting into the geeky side of things, it requires server resources. So it will be a paid product at this point in order to be able to access the API. We're not necessarily positive on all the different pricing models yet, but we wanted to make sure that Trellis is, you click a button and you get a can we share Rose's site real quick?
Yeah.
It's like a 98 page speed insight, an exercise in frugality. You're not going to hit a 98 if we couldn't offer things like critical CSS, removing unused CSS, the images, all the other stuff that we're doing. And unfortunately, that does require an API. I think originally we were trying to release kind of an open source framework that would have a free version. And at this point, it didn't make sense. So I'm sorry to announce that I think at this point, we're going to require the API for any Trellis people in order to be able to accomplish our goals. And our goal is as close to perfection as you can get. So I promise you, it'll pay for itself. If you have short pixel or something compressing your images, if you have WP Rocket or something optimizing your JavaScript, all these various plugins, it's going to be significantly cheaper, especially for Mediavine publishers.
Okay, we have a few things. Melissa is pleading with us, please have it done far enough ahead of Q4 so we can make the switch. It's a request right there. Noreen says, Matt is amazing. We totally agree, Noreen. Thea is asking for examples of sites running Trellis. We are posting an exercise in frugality, which is one of our publisher support, senior publisher support specialist sites. We're posting that in there. Oh, Mary Elizabeth said, I have Trellis on my site, and she posted her her site in there. Michelle asked, has pricing been determined at this point?
No, there's nothing we can announce. But again, I just keep saying it. Like, it's going to be, I think, significantly cheaper than you guys think. Like, our goal is, we want Trellis in as many Mediavine publisher sites as possible. We are incentivized. It's going to get you guys more traffic. It's going to make your ads perform better. I would like to basically give this away for as close to free as we can, as much as I'm sure people will yell at me for that. So no, the price will be extremely reasonable. I guarantee people will be saving money by switching to something like this.
Noreen says, I'll pay. It will be worth it. Mediavine produces the best product. Aw. Rose Slider says 98 GPSI score on mobile and 100 on desktop. Leah Garcia says, will it replace short pixel and serve next-gen images, etc.? Yeah,
so that was the thing that I believe Jordan tried to correct me on, or make sure that I didn't forget about. It doesn't just generate WebP, which is the Chrome next-gen image that PageSpeed Insights wants you to do. They also want you to address Safari users, and Safari does not support WebP. So we actually had to create a third version of your image. So we compress your JPEG, or that's coming soon. We compress your WebP, and the WebP is for all Google Chrome users. And then we compress a JPEG 2000, which is for all your Safari. Those are the two new ones. And then JPEG is the original image, or PNG that you uploaded. That's like the fallback. There's not a browser in the world that doesn't support those two. So next gen will be the most important thing. We generate both of them. PageSpeed Insights is correct. It is a good thing to do. They are tiny. We're seeing images that are like 20 kilobytes and 30 kilobytes for some of these sites that used to be 200 or 300. So very exciting stuff.
You just gave that really detailed explanation that was helpful, and Jordan wrote, yes, in the comments. So we've got yin and yang. Okay. Thea Osborne said she is so jealous that Mary Elizabeth is on it. She may have accidentally applied for the beta like 5 times. JK, sorta. Eric says, will Trellis be GDPR compliant? Very important question.
Yeah, anytime that Trellis collects information, so things like comments, we'll make sure it is GDPR compliant. Do not worry. And any personal information before being collected will be yes.
Eric, do you remember when our biggest concern was GDPR? Do you remember that summer? Those
That
were
was
the
a good
days,
one.
man.
Yeah, I can think back to that.
Christina Shirley, will it be a one-time price or monthly price for Trellis?
It's going to be a monthly or a yearly price. That much I can guarantee. Child themes will be different models depending on how the theme creator wants to charge for them. But the Trellis API that I've been describing, that's going to be required for Trellis sites to be able to generate that critical CSS, the images, and all the other wonderful fun things. And plus, it includes support from our team. I should throw that out there, which is worth way more than we're charging for. All of that is going to be on a subscription base, so yearly or monthly.
Sarah says, will Trellis be customizable, like for magazine type themes?
Yeah, so right now, the only thing we have are our child themes. So we have 2 of them that are Wisteria and Bamboo. And both of those are more geared towards blogs. However, we have an exciting new create thing I can talk about later called indexes that should allow you to make a magazine style layout even within those 2 themes. But yes, other themes will be coming out, other child themes. We're going to be working with other theme developers, people that have built things on Genesis in the past, so they can build Trellis child themes. And you better believe that if there's demand for a magazine layout, someone will make one and it will look good.
Okay, I want to circle back. I know we all love Trellis and could talk about this for like 75 hours, but Lynn April says, this is back to the dashboard. Can you explain what page RPM versus RPM is? Apologize if I should know this.
Yes, no, please. Let's talk about the dashboard, a product that's actually out and you can be using now, dashboard-beta. Not Mediavine.com. Yeah, so page RPM is how well individual pages are doing when I say that. So page level RPM would probably be a better term for that. So basically you can see how much each individual page is earning you per 1,000 page views. Incredibly awesome feature that our engineers were able to build. Complex, and we're gonna have a lot more information about that in the future once this is fully live to explain kind of how it works, its limitations, and how you should be using it. But basically the idea is now if you know a page is not earning you the same as your average page RPM, you know that's a page you should work on. There might be something fundamentally wrong with it, like maybe the topic and something you can't fix because certain advertisers will stay away from different keywords. But chances are it's probably because it's not optimized for ads. So we want to make sure you're working on basically all the advice that we've been giving you guys for the past several years and my Go for Teal videos, in our blog, all that. Now you'll be able to focus on which pages need it the most. So you won't just be going through your top 10 blindly making decisions. You'll be able to go through your top 30 and make, more intelligent decisions with your time. So it's exciting stuff.
Andrew, back to Trellis. Andrew Eaton, do you have an estimated release date?
We do not. I will still just keep saying it. We're going to keep this beta running as long as we need to until we feel confident with this product. We want to make sure that you don't necessarily need us to be able to install it. So there's going to be a lot of, we have a lot of beta testers that are doing what we call the DIY install, do it yourself install, who are installing it themselves. And then some of them say, hey, Matt, do it all for me. We can't scale Matt to install it for everyone. So we want to make sure that we have more of these kind of help guides, and it'll be easier for a publisher to be able to install it themselves, remove what they need to, do their own kind of like plugin audit. So that's kind of, I think, can be the holdup. We can't launch this thing until we're very confident that basically if we say this is open, like we know the demand for this, it's going to be insane. Right. We don't want to just say, here's a wait list, we'll install it for you in 6 months. We want to make sure that when we launch it, it's ready to go.
Great question from Nava Atlas. If we're using a niche specific theme like Foodie Pro, would it still be a good idea to switch to Trellis?
I think my opinion is that Trellis is going to be worth it for everyone. I would love to see everything moved over to a Trellis backend, running it. Trellis is that much faster. It's the more modern way of doing things. I cannot express this enough. Like the revenue difference, the traffic difference. We have not launched on a site that has not had basically every metric in Google Analytics go up. Things like session duration, pages per session, bounce rates go down. Everything is green, and then their revenue or their RPMs go up. Their viewability goes up. Like this is the future. I announced this kind of in, I think it was my Chicago presentation. Like we are trying to create a platform for people that want more out of their sites. If you want more out of your sites, yes, you should use Trellis. I don't want to say that any theme you shouldn't run. I would rather those themes build a new Trellis version rather than saying that theme you shouldn't run that theme. Because those are basically at the end of the day, child themes. They're just running on Genesis. Let's switch them over to Trellis and let you keep your theme. You don't necessarily have to run a Mediavine child theme.
Thea just said, Eric is not making that mistake again, which would be releasing the date. No, Thea, he's not. Morgan Smith McBride is looking at the new dashboard now. She said, thanks for ditching the pie charts. As a former data analyst, I say, save the pie for dessert. Salads for Lunch, who has Trellis on her site and just put her link in there, said she just switched from Foodie Pro, and she would say, yes, Mary Elizabeth said the same thing. She switched from Foodie Pro. While the Trellis questions are at a dull roar, let's talk a little bit about Create and Grow, some exciting things that we have coming up for both of those.
The plugins that don't get as much love as Trellis, but definitely deserve it. Definitely deserve it. So again, like harking back to what I said before of the creating this platform for publishers that want more, Create is the perfect example of that. It's out now, and publishers that run that have a much better performance with their jump to cart or jump to recipe. They get an ad optimized experience at the bottom of the cart. It's a smoother scroll. It removes the ads that weren't going to be seen, so your viewability is higher. Sites that run Create make more money, like period. Like we want more people to adopt these things. It's why we created them. We created them so our publishers who want more can. And so poor Create, not getting the Trellis love, but Create obviously has its fans, and we're excited by them. We have, I think, over 4,000 people running it. And we have a really cool feature coming to Create next, which is indexes. One of the reasons I'm most excited that social CTAs came out is it means we can start beta testing the next feature, which is indexes. That's going to allow you to create recipe indexes that will look fantastic and will be great user experiences. But beyond that, it's also going to allow you to create kind of custom landing pages for your category pages, your home page. It is basically a page builder for Gutenberg that is going to result in pages that are not page builder-esque, and page builders destroy sites. So indexes will not. So that's why we're really excited about this next version of Create, hoping in the next, I'm going to say next couple months, because we're going to be moving that into beta testing shortly after social CTA. We've worked out any bugs you guys may have found. So email in if you have any issues with those. So Create is awesome product. It deserves as much love as Trellis, and it's out. So you can run it today and make more money without having to wait. And then Grow. So Social Pug, as you guys are aware, is now Grow Social, as we call it here. So that's just one aspect of Grow. So we announced in Austin, and I think even teased in Chicago, there are plans to build more features into Grow, and they are underway. I cannot wait to reveal them. It's probably not going to be for at least another month or two. But we have hopefully the next really cool feature of Grow coming out. So it's not that we're not still working on the social features. There's been, I think, multiple releases of Grow since we've acquired Social Pug, and there will continue to be, and we'll continue to stay on top of the social game. And Social Pro, as we're calling it, will be the best social sharing plugin you'll need for WordPress. But we want to continue to innovate and add additional features to Grow. So we have resources dedicated to that now, and I think you're going to see where Grow fits into the platform as more of these things come out. That platform I keep talking about, the platform for content creators that want more, Grow is 100% going to be that, and we want to make sure as many people are running it as possible.
Thea says, I have loved using the new dashboard. Michelle Palin says, I love Create. Tanya Harris Fleming says, is there an option to bulk transfer recipes to Create from other recipe cards?
Yeah, there is a bulk importer. It's a separate plugin that you install with Create. It's linked to inside of the Create itself, and I think we have a link we could probably post here or a help doc that can explain how to use it. But yeah, there's a separate plugin you install. It will help you move from any major plugin, pretty much all of them. And you can do so one at a time, which is generally what we recommend. So you can make sure that everything transferred over correctly. Or if you're absolutely crazy, you can do the bulk and then cross your fingers. We recommend one at a time. So go one at a time. I know it seems like it's going to be tedious. It's a good chance to look at your old content, make sure it is optimized for ads and SEO. So use it as a good chance for spring cleaning right now. But yeah, there is an importer. You don't have to, it's not as much work as it sounds.
Noreen says, love Create. Yes, for indexes. Thank you. Betsy is super excited about the recipe indexes. Michelle is most excited about the newsletter subscription stuff with Grow. So is Mary Elizabeth. And Michelle said, is the newsletter subscription ready for Grow yet? I didn't find that yet, but maybe she didn't see it, but she doesn't know if it's not ready or not.
So it's not ready yet. So that's why you can't find it right now. That's why we keep calling it the social stuff. We are working on, I think, a very creative solution to opt-ins that we're excited to be able to announce. It's going to come in a couple different phases. We're not going to release, a full Thrive Leads or opt-in monster overnight. We have basically phases, and I think we're going to surprise people. We have some creative ways to do opt-ins that I don't think are previously been done, and it's going to be way less complex for all of you guys to be able to finally have opt-ins without having to hire someone to help you do it. That's our goal with basically everything we create here, right? Put it in your hands, you can do it. We expect the Grow kind of opt-in features to be relatively soon. I hope to have an announcement soon-ish. I don't know, next couple months of something we can at least tease or announce on that.
Fantastic. Nava says the Create recipe card is the most beautiful and easy to use ever. Well, we'd like to hear that. If you have like 30 seconds and want to review us at the WordPress repo, we would love that. We'd love to get those reviews. Okay. Moving on from plugins, we also launched another initiative to do with COVID-19, with everything that's happening in the world right now. It was suggested by our publisher, Lawrence Nora, and who's with Finding the Universe. Would you tell us a little bit more about that, what it is, how many people are participating, and how can people participate if they want to?
Yeah, so Lawrence had this great idea, which was, so at Mediavine, we don't run 100% fill. We have what's called a floor, a minimum price that we charge for your inventory. We do that to protect the value. We believe and know for a fact that Mediavine has some of the most valuable inventory on the internet. We have industry-leading CPMs for a reason, and it's because we charge a floor. We have a minimum. We don't let people buy in for a penny, which means you have to say goodbye to some ads. And the good news is you're mostly saying goodbye to the crummy, gross ads. But that meant what we would do if we didn't have an ad to serve, we would leave it blank. It would not like a blank space. It would just look like there was never an ad there. It's called collapsing the ad unit. So that's what we would always previously do. And Lawrence had the great idea. Rather than collapsing that, if there's no ad to serve, why don't we serve a PSA for COVID-19 or for the various efforts towards trying to curb this coronavirus? So we partnered with, what is the name of the UN? I always forget the name of this thing.
I'll get it. Keep talking.
Okay. So we basically partnered with this program by the UN to come up with PSAs that we should be doing to help, like what message they wanted to get across. And then we're going to be working with some other major kind of ad tech companies to continue to offer other PSAs, but basically public service announcements. So if you go into your dashboard under ad settings, there's just basically a feature to donate your unsold impressions. There is no cost to our publishers. You click it. The ad serving fees, which is basically the cost of running these, are paid for out of Mediavine's side of the rev share. No cost to you. So your donation is literally just putting ads on your page where it would have been blank. So you can decide which is a better experience. We just love the fact that you guys now have the choice. If you want to be able to help this cause, I think that's great. If you don't want to, don't run them. That's fine. It's just a checkbox if you do want to run them. We did have a little bit of a snafu when we first launched them, and that some people saw that basically once a house ad served, they would continue to serve. So once one PSA served, it would take over your whole page. That bug has been fixed, I promise you. If you run them now, there is no impact at all on your revenue. So you can run them and basically donate at no cost to you, no harm. So please, if you did run them and you turned them off before, turn them back on. They are fine. We did a credit to retroactively fix anyone who lost any money, and now going forward, you have nothing to worry about.
Do you know where we currently are with adoption in terms of numbers of Mediavine publishers?
I do not, but I could quickly go and look that up.
I like stumping each other. This is fun.
Yeah. Where are we at? Yeah. Where's our UN answer? I don't know.
United Nations Strategy Hub. I already had it for you.
Oh, you were faster than me.
In the bag.
Quickly. 774 publishers.
774. That's great. That's exciting. We actually have all the links posted in the comments for you guys. If you want to go over and enable that now, you can. No pressure, but it's an option. And if you want to read more about it, we've got the landing page where people will be directed to if they click on any of those house ads over there. We have been taking suggestions from publishers to add to our resource library that's on that landing page. We have multiple countries represented now. We want to post as many resources as we can, and we are still in contact with the UN and are working with them on this project. And then we're teaming up with the different people in the advertising industry to widen the impact on that. Luke Ward said, once COVID is over, will we be able to use this feature to fill with our own non-paid ads? For example, we could advertise our other websites when not filled.
So yes, Luke, I love that idea. So one of the things when we built this, we decided rather than kind of hacking it in, we would build this officially, knowing that we want to be able to do this either again or release a new feature such as that to our publishers. So you can know that the way that we handle these house ads means that it is flexible for any kind of future development. So yeah, there might be a chance if we switch over to this new dashboard that you could directly maybe upload your creatives in there that you wanted to. So let's hurry up and get this new dashboard up and running, 2.0. Help us test it, please.
We love that. Melissa just turned them on. Michelle Price loves that idea. So exciting. Mary Elizabeth said we could advertise products on there that are their own personal products. Lots of uses for this new setting. Okay, so what advice do we have for content creators who are struggling right now? Where should they be focusing their limited time? Is it more on optimization? Is it on creating new content? How do they make the most of the limited work time they have while balancing? There's people everywhere. There are children in the house that need to be educated by you. Tell us what we're recommending.
Yeah, so I think we're going to be releasing some cool case studies on this now, but I think there's still a lot of opportunity for publishers during this pandemic to create content specifically around kind of the new normal. So in this world of social distancing, physical distancing, I understand that it's very tough for maybe a travel blogger. But we've seen even some of our travel bloggers coming up with kind of unique content they can do. We're going to be showcasing and highlighting a lot of that. So when you can, if you can create content that is designed towards this modern audience, that's what I'm going to call them, without, obviously if you can avoid saying COVID-19 and coronavirus, do. If you can't, don't worry about it. Write for your users. That is always my advice, whether it's SEO, whether it's ad revenue, write for your user. So if you need to mention those words for your user, I don't care if an advertiser won't bid on your page. You still would rather make your users happy. So write for your user. I'll just keep saying that. Yes, so create new content is always going to be one of the best ways to generate more traffic. But then there's also optimizing your existing content. So if you have top 10 posts that are new and different than they were maybe a month ago, which is probably true, traffic is very cyclical in general, and this is a very different time. Please look at those top 10, use the new dashboard, check out what your page level RPMs are. How are those performing compared to your average RPM? If those are significantly down, that means you're probably not maybe serving enough impressions per page. They're not optimized for longer sessions. There's a lot of things you can be doing. So making sure you can basically do both, like balance your time. Obviously, it's tough for me to say just do everything. So if you can look now using page level RPM, you can intelligently figure out where should I spend my time on optimizing existing content, and hopefully that will free up more time for you to be able to create new content.
We just posted our recession proof your blog, don't give up, double down. That's a great blog post by our co-founder, Steve Marcy. And it's actually a case study in how to talk about this without talking about this. Creating content now that, obviously if you're creating a mask for a pandemic, you're going to have to talk about disease. Like that's just something that's going to be a thing. But for the most part, a lot of these you know, you're talking about making grocery lists for lean times. If you make that a more evergreen thought, as opposed to just saying, right now during coronavirus pandemic, that post is going to have legs and life a lot further on when people aren't necessarily searching for coronavirus specific things. So thinking about that, if you guys follow us on social, we're sharing examples every day about things that that Mediavine publishers are doing during the pandemic, content they're creating. We have squirrel picnic tables, we have masks, we have sourdough starters, we have all sorts of things that are happening right now that are there. We're hoping to bring a smile to your face. Matt Hochberg said, travel blogging has been brutal on revenue and traffic. Elena says, really has. Kimberly says it's been brutal. Sports too. If you're a sports blogger, there's a lot going on, and we know that. Michelle Palin has a question. Looking at the new dashboard, how should we interpret when certain pages have a lower RPM or CPM than others, even if they've been optimized similarly?
So that's why we put CPM in that section and not just RPM, so that you can see. If we're going to be working on, I think, an impressions per page as well on that, so you can see kind of what's the cause. Is it you're not running enough impressions, or it's just earning a lower CPM, or it has a lower viewability? And we're going to be releasing guides and explaining what those three things kind of mean, right? Like, what does a lower viewability mean on a page? What does a lower impressions per page? What is a lower CPM? Like, what are the actual causes of those, and how can you fix them? So that kind of stuff is going to be coming soon. We know that maybe just showing you those numbers isn't the full picture. So don't worry, I promise you, as 2.0 gets closer to release, we're going to have guides on how you can use these metrics to improve your pages. I could give you a complete nutshell overview, but if you're seeing a lower CPM, it probably alludes back to what I was saying before. There might be advertisers that are staying away from that particular page. We've seen the weirdest reasons why. We always point back to Heather's kick-ass brownies, because she had the word kick-ass in it. They didn't perform well. Advertisers didn't want to buy because they were afraid that she was writing some inappropriate content as opposed to delicious brownies. So just a quick change in the name and the URL was able to fix that one. And we see the same kind of things a lot of times. If you can just avoid certain words, you'll bring back a lot of brand safe advertiser spend. And that's kind of what I was referring to with the COVID-19 coronavirus keywords, avoiding them, just because that will be reflected in the CPM. Lower, and that will basically mean if it's optimized, you have the right number of impressions, but it's just a lower CPM, that will result in a lower RPM. So that might be what you're seeing.
We got, now I want brownies, so that's fun. Lynn said, can I also just say how pretty the house ads are? They really are beautiful. Our in-house senior graphic designer did a great job, Susanna. They're beautiful ads, and they look great on everybody's sites. I've been seeing them because I've been scrolling through all of our websites at night. Matt Hochberg says, in this day of looking to maximize revenue, is there any possibility of expanding my Mediavine ads to message boards? I have a great deal of traffic that I'm missing out on, despite the fact that I see other forums on the internet running ads. Help me, Eric.
So the problem is that's called UGC, or user-generated content. And that's something that advertisers also try to generally avoid buying on, unless it's heavily moderated. So that's the concern with message boards, is you don't control the content directly as the publisher, and you never know what maybe some crazy troll is going to go right on your forum, and they might be using non-brand safe words. So in general, advertisers try to avoid them, and as a result, Mediavine, we're super protective of our brand here. We represent, what is it now, 6,400? What's our number?
65.
6,500 publishers. But what's crazy is that we have maintained our quality through all 6,500 of those. Believe me, we reject, I think, 78%, something insane. Only 20-something% of sites that apply to Mediavine actually go live. A lot of that is due to traffic quality, and just as much of that is due to content quality. If we were willing to risk our brand more, yes, we could just take on that message board site. And it's not that I don't trust you, Matt, it's that I can't trust every single reader and every single person that can post on that page. So that's why we've traditionally avoided them. It's just because we have a brand to maintain. Advertisers trust Mediavine. Again, there's a reason we have the highest CPMs in the industry, and that is 100% due to the quality of your guys' sites. So if we let in sites that weren't of your quality, we would be lowering everybody's CPMs here. So we kind of maintain that strict guidelines.
We don't kind of, we definitely do. We're strict.
We definitely do.
We're strict.
Yeah, we're strict.
Strict AF, y'all. Leah Garcia loves Susanna's designs. We do too. Idalia, I don't want to blow that out of the water. I'm sorry if I said that, butchered that. She says she's not a Mediavine publisher yet. I applied last night after finally hitting the 25,000 sessions. Yay!
Congrats.
She says, anyway, I love listening to your Facebook Lives. We love having you. Leah Garcia says, dang, y'all are like an Ivy League ad university. We kind of are, and that means you guys are Ivy Leaguers. So feel free to go and share that now among your people. You're an Ivy Leaguer. Your mom is going to be so proud. So on the next live, you guys, we have this next week. It is the 23rd, next Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are doing work from home wellness because we are all working from home. We are going to have TQ Evans, who is our Director of People Operations here at Mediavine, and then we're having Lisa Williams and Eleanor Haley from What's Your Grief? Because while we're going to be focusing on a lot of strategies, some work from home strategies, we're also just going to talk about not losing your poop during this time and some strategies on how to feel good about what we have and focusing not on what we don't have right now. So we're gonna just gonna have some real talk next Thursday, guys, and we hope you'll join us. Eric, it has always been a wonderful time with you here. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Jenny.
Okay, guys, we're going to say goodbye now. Please stay safe and be well. And of course, if you have other questions, hit us up. We are always here. Have a good afternoon, everybody.